podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Right, welcome to the 1865 match report, the day after yet another Forest away defeat as we lost 2-1 to Brentford. That kind of means that no matter what happens tomorrow night, I think we're in the relegation zone because Everton play Leicester tomorrow. But there were a couple of positives as we lined up in yet another sort of 5-3-2 kind of formation. Before the game, obviously, we knew that Nico Williams would be out after fracturing his jaw against Brighton, but there were doubts about Awayday and Niakate, but both of them stayed in the lineup. So we only had one change with Joe Worrell coming in for the injured Williams. So that had Lodi and Aurier at wing-back, Niakate, Felipe and Worrell in the middle, Mangala and Danilo as midfielders with Awayday, Gibbs-White and Johnson up front. And Forest continued their game plan of spending the first half nullifying the opponents, basically, as not very much happened. We just spent the entire time stopping them playing. We had a couple of attacks down the right with Aurier in particular, breaking but failing to find anything. And Bumo had a shot and Pinnock forced a double save off Navas at one point, but that was about it until right towards the end of the first half, where there was a Niakate long throw, which is becoming one of our most effective weapons. It fell to Morgan Gibbs-White, but his shot was deflected, finding Danilo on his 22nd birthday. So he managed to score, and we went in at from conceding at half-time in most of our games to that's now 2 in a row where we've scored just before half-time, which is a nice turnaround. In the second half, no changes at half-time, but not long into the second half, Awayday got replaced. Apparently he had a load of heavy strapping, I didn't see it, but a load of heavy strapping on his shoulder after his awkward fall on Wednesday night. So he was replaced by Andre Ayew. Yoann Wissa and Josh De Silva came on for Brentford, and then Jono comes off for Czech Kouyaté. Brentford then made all the rest of their subs, and the main thing of note was Ben Mee doing an overhead kick that went over. Finally, there was the welcome return of Ryan Yates for the last 10 minutes, replacing Oral Mangala. But then Kouyaté gives away a free kick not long after. Tony lines up with that determined look in his face. His shot goes through the wall, and we'll talk about that later. Navas gets down to save it, but spills it onto the post, and it goes in. There was another save from Navas coming in. Then Danilo breaks, ends up pretty much on his own in the penalty area, but as he goes to shoot, he pulls up and has to come off what looks like another hamstring injury. And then finally, in injury time, Josh De Silva beats Renan Lodi and shoots. It gets past Navas again, and that puts the game out of our hands. So I'm joined by Tom Newton, who has a few stories to tell about Brentford. I've never been there, apart from maybe I think I drove through it once a very, very long time ago, but that's about it. So all I really know about Brentford is Corrupt FM. So what was the ground like? What was the atmosphere like?
Right. As modern grounds go, it's probably the worst ground I've ever been to. It's like the stadium looks half-arsed. Like, is that meant to be continuous all the way around? Because if you go to somewhere like Bristol, they've like continued it all the way around with that huge main stand. But they've like got the main stand, it drops down, then it goes back up again, and yeah, looks a bit half-arsed as a new stadium. I was right on the segregation, and all my years of going to Forest away, you wanted like a bit of banter. We got nothing. Absolutely zilch. They didn't stand up, they didn't cheer, they didn't chant, no singing, absolutely nothing. And the only time they did stand up was for half-time P and when Brentford scored the 2 goals. But on a more serious note, the stewarding at Brentford yesterday was the worst stewarding I've ever seen in my 20 odd years of going to away matches. A lot has been said on Twitter, and I presume there's going to be some kind of ongoing investigation from Forest's liaison supporter officer who goes to all the away games, because I spoke to him yesterday, and a steward in particular, which if you went yesterday, his number has cropped up many times, and his professionalism yesterday was absolutely out of order. He was like kicking and pushing people out the exit doors. He was saying unpleasant comments to the fans, and it was just an absolute unprofessional. They're meant to be helping you, and he just instigated many of the problems. What happened yesterday, and it's telling everybody, isn't it? When hardly any Forest fans got arrested yesterday, but then a Brentford steward gets taken away by the Met Police, and that tells you everything of the operation yesterday at Brentford's stadium.
So that's quite something, isn't it? So
they're
supposed to be here to help us out, aren't they? So apart from that, you said there was no atmosphere. Certainly, from what I could hear, it was all Forest fans until Tony scored.
Yeah, I don't know if the Premier League has sanitised Brentford fans, but when I've been to Griffin Park, and the atmosphere was like pretty decent. But yeah, I just got the sense that a lot of the people on the segregation who were Brentford fans are either day trippers or they've just started going to Premier League matches to watch Brentford, because, like I said, absolutely nothing. There was no, we didn't even get any swearing or anything. I'm not like, if there's families there, I'm not condoning that, but got absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what are you here for anyway? You're here because it's like they didn't really, even if there was a bad refereeing decision or something like that, absolutely nothing. And
was there like a pocket of their fans, like the, I don't know, like the like A Block for us or something that was making noise?
No. I looked around the ground and was like, well, where's their singing section?
Yeah.
And I think the most volatile supporters was actually on the stand on the far side. Well, you've got opposite the main stand where the players come out. Some of their fans were like getting up and actually gesturing towards the referee regarding any bad decisions, but that was it. There's nothing, and I sincerely hope the City Ground doesn't become sanitised by the Premier League if we do stay up, because it's just a really awful atmosphere if that happens. And like I said, I was a bit disappointed with Brentford yesterday, because, like I said, I've been to the Griffin Park, and I thought it was like a real community spirited, everybody's in it together. And yeah, yesterday just hardly nothing from the Brentford fans.
So how are things with us? Because you've said a few things in the recent reports about the atmosphere amongst the away fans at Forest.
Well, the last few games I've been to, so I went to Anfield last week in Brentford. The atmosphere from Forest was brilliant, non-stop singing yesterday. I don't know what it is in terms of, because in the games gone past, it's been a bit of toxic and a bit like you only get certain pockets of fans singing. But yesterday everybody was in it together, and we tried to sing all the way through and support the lads on the field.
Brilliant. That's good to know. As I said the other day, the atmosphere on Wednesday as well was as good as I've ever heard it. So in the second half, so it hopefully something's picking up on that front. But we can't really complain about how we've been all season. I think we've been amazing considering what we've been going through.
Yeah, exactly. And we are becoming, throughout the whole season, we have been the 12th man. And even some players have alluded to it, that the fans have been getting them over the line, especially at home matches. So hopefully that will continue in the last few games of the season.
Right, so on to the match itself. I really struggled to find things to write about about Boom, and I was putting my notes together to write about the first half. We just went out of our way to nullify them and stop them playing, really, innit?
Yeah, pretty much. I thought Forest were quite comfortable without seeing too much of the ball, which we've come to get used to this season, especially away from home. Like, kept him at arm's length. There was a chance where Navas has made that really good save in the first half, and we've had a couple of openings. But apart from that, I thought, pretty comfortable with how things were going. Then we went ahead on the stroke of half time. There was a bit of a ricochet from a Morgan Gibbs-White shot, and Danilo's really finished it off, and he's becoming like a massive asset for us in the midfield with his energy, etc. He's still got to polish up certain things of his game, which obviously will come, but he's starting to blossom into a really important player for us and took his goal really well.
Yeah. It was a good finish and all, to get caught like that and then respond. One of the things I like is I can remember when we signed him, I was reading up on what he was supposed to be all about. So obviously he was Brazil's Young Player of the Year last year, and they had him down as a defensive midfielder, but he's got this energy and this break and this way of breaking forwards that he seems to be adding to his game now, which is really good to see.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we had a box-to-box midfielder, so he can do a bit of everything, and he's only going to get better. And because we've got him on this 6-year contract, I hope to see him in the next few years in a Forest shirt and really make that midfield spot his own.
Was there anything else of note from us in an attacking sense in the first half?
Couple of openings. I think, Awayday, he started okay, but then he just started struggling a bit, and whether, like you've alluded to with his shoulder, whether that was becoming an issue for him. Morgan Gibbs-White got in a couple of decent opportunities, and but I think on the whole, Forest did look positive going forward without too many openings. I think they nullified us just as well as we nullified them in the first half, but they had more of the ball. Etc. Then, thankfully, at the time, we went ahead with that Danilo goal. Mm-hmm. And I've got to say, whoever's come up with that chant for him,
it's brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant. So, long may that continue.
Yeah. So, second half was probably a bit more Brentford. But the key things from my point of view to note are our substitutions. I want to come back to some of the reactions that I've seen about those substitutions later on. But Awayday comes off for IU. That was quite early on, 55 minutes, I think. And as I say, I think that's down to the injury. Then Kouyaté comes on for Jono. And then finally, Yates comes on for Mangala. So that's 3 substitutions in 3 separate, whatever they're called, phases or whatever. The IU one, you might disagree whether IU's the right person to bring on, but I can see why you choose him over someone else like Surridge or whatever, given that there was that much of the match to go. Kouyaté for Jono, was that protecting Jono, do you reckon?
He was pretty quiet yesterday, Johnson was. And I think it was just another body in midfield of a defensive nature, just to try and keep Brentford at arm's length and just shield the back 5 or whatever it was. But because Kouyaté come on against Brighton and he looked really, really good. But yesterday, he just didn't get into the game. Then he was the one who gave away the free kick for their equaliser.
And then Yates coming on for Mangala. How did Mangala do?
It looks all right. He's making that position his own. But sometimes when he gets the ball, he does the right things. Then that's all undone with a wrong decision. You see, so he just needs to get. He just needs to polish up his when he's got the ball, because, like I said, he is guilty of giving the ball away. Yeah.
How did Yates do for the whatever 10 minutes he was there?
It was great that we saw him on the field, but he didn't really do a lot, to be honest. He tried, but he just couldn't get into the game.
Just getting minutes under his belt, I suppose, then.
Yes, pretty much.
So, so Kouyaté, as you said, he didn't really get into the game. He gave away the free kick. From watching the highlights, it's pretty clear that he also moved away in the wall, and that's kind of where Tony got his shot through.
Yeah, I said to my mate, who obviously was at the game yesterday, and I said, Navas has left an absolute crater on his left-hand side. It was a bit like he's left so much of a gap. You know, when Beckham scored that free kick against Colombia in the '98 World Cup, and Mondragon left him an absolute huge space to aim into. That's what it was like. And I'm like, he's left too much. But then the wall was covering that side, and you think, well, then it gets through the wall, and it's like Navas has basically palmed it into his goal. Even though they've had a lot of the ball, Brentford have done absolutely nothing. We've kept them at arm's length, and you're thinking, we just create our own problems. Again, needless free kick to give away. The wall is half-arsed to actually stop the ball coming through, and it comes through, and Navas has palmed it into his... Now, I think at one moment yesterday, it did go down as a Navas own goal, but I think Tony's been given the... Tony's been given the goal, but it's just... I understand that players don't want to put the arms in front of them because of VAR and a potential handball, giving away a penalty or whatever, but you've got to do a lot better than that. Yeah. He hasn't absolutely... He's not like a real venomous free kick, is it? He's just hitting. It's just gone through. It's just like, just stand up it and prepare to be hit. Is it? You know what I mean? It's no. Then you think, oh, just hang on for a point here, and then Danilo goes down with, I think it looks like a hamstring injury. He tries to come back on. He goes off. We're down to 10 men, and a lot of criticism went towards Steve Cooper yesterday with his substitutions, and I can see where the criticism's coming from. We don't see a lot of the ball, but it's been times this season where we've scored a goal and we've stopped doing the right things what we was doing prior to the goal, and we go back into a shell, and you cannot defend for like 52 minutes because obviously with the 7 minutes of stoppage time, sitting on a 1-goal lead when you've got 18% possession or whatever it was, you just can't do it. And then players are getting knackered, players are going off injured, you make substitutions, and I just thought we've got to hang on here. But Brentford just kept forcing it and forcing and forcing it. And then they were on the right-hand side, our left-hand side. Lodi is let, I think it was Wissa coming on too easily. You've got to show him the line. He's let him cut inside. He's hit a shot. And then you've got, I think Tony was in front of... It's like Cloughie's one that says, if you're not interfering with play, what you're doing on a football pitch. And he is in the goalkeeper's line. There's no two ways about that. But then Brentford have had lucky Brentford. Let's all fit sorry for Brentford. They've been on the receiving end of some VAR calls in terms of it's gone into their favour. And yet again, when it come on VAR, I thought they're going to get this. They're going to get this. Whatever way you're going to look at, they are going to get this. We was on the angle, you see, so we wasn't directly in line of the defensive line. But you look back on it, and he is offside. But obviously, he doesn't touch the ball. But Navas he's got to be in Navas's line. There's no two ways about it. And as soon as VAR was looking at it, I thought this is going to be given.
But then the key
thing was
Lodi was like half a second, and he's been so good recently. But Lodi was half a second behind. Was it De Silva? I think whoever it was. They shouldn't have had that chance anyway. He should have. They got through for no real reason.
Yeah, and it's just frustrating that it works sometimes at home. You know, like against Palace and Leeds, etc., and you've got the home crowd behind you. But you go into these away grounds and you're trying to stay on like a 1-0 lead, and we just can't do it. Can't do it. And I mean, a point would have been massive for you yesterday, and obviously the 3 points would have been huge. But no, it's just our defensive frailties, mistakes, and they've come away with they probably look back on it in a fortuitous. I know they had all the ball and all of that, but Navas wasn't peppered yesterday, and they've had those shots at the towards the end of the game and to come away with a 2-1 victory, and it's just so frustrating. And like you've said at the start of the match report, that we're going to be in the relegation zone now because of what's going to be happening in the game against Leicester and Everton tomorrow, and Bournemouth play Leeds today. So, which it'd be nice for a Bournemouth win, but we just create our own problems, and it's so frustrating. And like I says, the game management has been relatively poor. You got to do a lot better away from home, and it's not like we've just come into the Premier League in terms of we've only had a couple of matches away from home. We've had lots of matches, and we keep making the same mistake. And I just sincerely hope that there's 3 worse teams as us this season. But yesterday a point would have been massive. And then you go into that Southampton game on the back of a positive result against Brentford, and it wasn't to be.
Mm-hmm. So we're joined by Billy from the Beesotted Brentford podcast. This is what he had to say about the game.
Hi Forest fans, this is Billy from the Beesotted Pride of West London podcast. You'll catch us on Pride of West.London. We've done a post-match podcast where we speak to both Brentford fans and Forest fans after that quite mad game, actually. And obviously I'm sort of sitting here feeling probably a lot better now than I was doing at half-time, and definitely halfway through that second half. It was a bit of a strange game. We knew it's going to be a tough game today because Forest have always proved to be tough opponents for Brentford. And we come off the back of a great victory. We had a great laugh on Wednesday night against Chelsea. We beat Chelsea 2-0 at their place as well. And we knew that we're going to have to come off the back of that, and we're going to have to kind of pull another one out the bag, really, because we knew that Forest are fighting for their lives. I put a little kind of dilemma with Laney, who does the podcast with me as well, and I put a little dilemma to him, and I said, Laney, if on Saturday we were playing Forest and you can guarantee that if we had lost to Forest, that Leeds would get relegated, would you take that result? And Laney said, yes, I would do, because there's a very strange thing going on with Brentford and Leeds. The disrespect they've showed us over the years, like literally, and we could have put them down last game of the season. Last season, we didn't do it, and that has really kind of hurt a lot of Bees fans, and we basically just want to see them got rid of. So it's almost like Brentford fans would have taken a loss today if it could have guaranteed Leeds going down. But anyway, it was a game where, again, I think the difference maybe between the two teams is that we've been in this division for a year, and I'm saying this as again out of all due respect, because I've got a lot of Forest mates. I love going up to Forest. I actually don't want Forest to go down. What I will say is that I believe that, and I'm saying this, that I believe that it's not necessarily about wins. It's just about grounding out results in this league. And we saw it last season, getting you a draw here, getting you a draw there, get a result in places that you don't expect to get results. You got a wicked result against Brighton, right? Which you probably didn't expect. Brighton are the best team we play this season by far. They're better than Liverpool. They're better than, Man United, who we beat 4-0. They're better than Arsenal as well. They were the best team that we beat, that we played, and we got a draw at their place. And to be fair, we kind of just, we just, I don't know how we got a draw there, to be honest with you, but we got a draw. Great team. So you got a wicked result from them. All you need is to get 1 or 2 results which go against the grain, and that just completely changes everything. So, and that's speaking from experience as a Brentford fan last season. I never believed that we were going to go down last season. A lot of Brentford fans thought that we would do. We went 2 months without winning a game. We lost every single game pretty much for 2 months. And then boom, we got a couple of results in a row, Norwich and Burnley in a row, and then after that we were gone, and then we beat Chelsea 4-1, and it's just different. So what I'm going to say to you as Forest fans is, I don't know whether or not you're going to survive or not, because you need to have the nous and the feeling within your team that you can do it. You're not scoring enough goals, and you need to score enough goals. I know you talk about not scoring goals away from home as well, and not winning away from home. Listen, all these things in the pot, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because last 5-6 games of the season, you might just pull something out the bag, but you need to pull something out the bag really quickly. And I do hope that you're back next season, because I want to go down to Forest. We got a result today. We scored a last-minute goal. Thank God for Ivan Toney, because he's just a great player and he's learned how to pull things out the bag. And we got the result today, but it's not all over for Forest. All I'm going to say to you is good luck for the rest of the season, and fingers crossed, if everything goes all right, we'll see you back in the Globe, which is the pub that we drink in, next season.
The 1865 Match Report.
Well, listeners, in case you didn't get enough sports today, here's an ad break that'll tell you how to watch even more sports. YouTube is the new home of NFL Sunday Ticket. And if you sign up now, you'll get our lowest full season price of the year. Just go to youtube.com/presale to get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket. Watch your favorite teams out-of-market Sunday afternoon games, exclusively on YouTube and YouTube TV. All right, enough about sports. Go get more sports. Terms and embargoes apply. Offer ends June 6th. No refunds.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Thanks, Billy. Just as an aside, then, when we played Man United at home, the first game, for the last 20 minutes or so, the Man U fans were singing "We All Hate Leeds Scum," and where I sit, loads of people around me were like, "What are they singing?" Oh, yeah, they've got a point there. Obviously, Brentford feel the same then. But as far as it goes, yeah, Leeds look like they're falling apart again a bit after a little bit of a new manager bounce. But we keep, as you say, we keep having these same mistakes. We don't have the nous to grind out results away from home. We've got these defensive frailties. We keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And I don't know what the answer is, because Chiati, you'd think he's an experienced Premier League player. He knows what to do, and he just wasn't in it today.
Yeah, just a needless free kick. I mean, he wasn't really going anywhere to a point, and there was other players around to mop up. And yeah, he's done that thing where you touched him, but you're making out to the referee you've never touched him. But the free kick was quite far out. You think it's going to be a good hit, but then when the walls are fast, and then you got Navas, which, right, with Navas, people have been a bit criticising him with the goal what he gave away against Leeds, the one of Brighton in midweek. But my take on it is that he's been playing for Real Madrid, the Harlem Globetrotters of world football, the win, like I said, the win everything near enough for every single season. When you got players like Modric, Casemiro, Toni Kroos, and then Varane, Ramos in front of you, you're not going to be tested as much because of those world-class players in front of you. Real Madrid, 9 times out of 10, are going to dominate the football match in terms of possession. So Navas will only have to make a couple of saves of any note during the game.
And if you punch it away, you know that your defenders are going to be there to clear it.
Yeah, exactly. Then he goes to PSG, where I'm not going to say no disrespect, but the French league, it's a farmers' league. Lyon are not the team that once was. Marseille might have a couple of decent matches over the bigger teams in France, but PSG are just going to dominate that league with all their players they've got. So he's not going to see much of the ball in terms of making saves for PSG. But then he's come to Forest, where we're only getting probably a maximum of 26% possession. And he's got to be on it for 90 minutes, and that ball's going to come back to him more times than what his experience at the previous 2 clubs has been at. And he makes a couple of decent saves, then he just gets overworked. And I'm not like condoning the saves or the non-saves he made against like Leeds, Brighton, and the game yesterday, but you expect him to do a hell of a lot. So it's that fine balance: is make some decent saves, then he's going to let an easy goal in, and it's just like, I just don't think he's that used to being overworked as much as he has. Yeah. And he's not a young keeper, is he? He's 36, 37 now, and I just think he's just being absolutely tested, and it's highlighted that the ball keeps going back to him more times than he's ever experienced in the last 10 years.
And also, the way he saves as well, that like his reactions and his athleticism to get to the save.
Yeah, and he's not the biggest.
He signed himself to punch it away, because
Yeah, he's not the biggest goalkeeper,
Yeah.
is he? So anything in the corners, he has to palm it away. And he made a really good save in the second half where it took a deflection and he's wrong footed and it's gone the other way. So he is an athletic, quick goalkeeper, but yeah, he's just got this tendency of palming everything out, and it's caused them quite a few problems in recent times. So, but like I said, I mean, I'm still in awe of him to have a player like him between the sticks who's won more Champions League than we have,
Yeah.
and most of the clubs in the Premier League for that matter. I still think he's a class goalkeeper, but I just think he's been overworked, and that's because we don't keep the ball. So, like I say, he's been tested a lot more than he has been tested in the last few years.
So the other thing I wanted to just touch on was and you've mentioned it already, actually, is the reaction to Steve Cooper's style of play. Now, I would say that, in my experience, the vast majority of fans are very, very much behind Steve Cooper. But away from home, we keep making the same mistakes, full stop. Defensively, we're just not good enough for the Premier League at the moment. And it's not down to how we play or whatever. It's just those mistakes keep coming in. It's like making a mistake and then getting punished for it. Make another mistake, get punished for it.
Yeah, I'd say 95% of the fans are behind Steve Cooper, and we're forever grateful for what he's brought to his football club in terms of the day at Wembley, the cup run last season, promotion via the playoffs, and being in the Premier League this season. But he just got this tendency. I can see why he brought AU on, because he's got more experience and he can keep the ball a bit better than, let's say, Sam Surridge. But yeah, IU's not really doing it for us, and he hasn't scored yet, has he? And I'm just thinking whether it's a Steve Cooper thing or it's a player mentality thing, but the game management away from home in many games I've been to this season it's not great. Whether the player, well, we've mentioned about the players being fragile as soon as they leave an NG postcode.
Yeah,
but they've got to do a lot better. Like you can't, like I said, you cannot have 52 minutes in the second half, because obviously the 7 minutes of stoppage time, to hang on 1-goal lead. We just seem to pack up doing the right things. Like against Leeds a few weeks ago, was really good for that 15, 20-minute spell. Doing the right things, getting on the front foot. We got the goal through Mangala. We stopped playing. Yesterday, we didn't see much of the ball, but we stopped doing those good things, like containing them, then looking for a quick breakthrough, like Gibbs White into a 1-E or Johnson on the far side. But we just stopped doing that yesterday. There was a couple of times when we got into some really good positions. And Danilo, like I said, I love Danilo for what he's been doing in the last few weeks, but he was guilty of it. There was just such an easy ball to play, I think, to Gibbs White. And he delayed it and delayed it and delayed it. And the Brentford player just intercepted it, read where it was going. And it was like three players, they had a quick break and three players were out of position. Just thinking, that's basics. Just know when to pass the football. I mean, yeah, just things frustrating like that. And we'll get ourselves in some like really good positions, but we make the wrong decision time and time again. And we're just shooting ourselves in the foot, because we get pushed. Everybody pushes up, we lose the ball, and everybody's out of position, and they're just chasing shadows. And luckily, a couple of times yesterday, Felipe came in to mop up, or it was Wall or Aurier. But yeah, we've got to do a lot better with the football and because like I said, we don't see much of the football, especially away from home. But if you don't take care of the football, you're asking for trouble in my eyes.
And that's, I don't know, is that a player thing or is that a Steve Cooper thing?
I think on that,
I really don't get it.
I think on that point, I think it's more of the players. But then as the game goes on, yeah, it's just annoying that injuries absolutely upset the rhythm and the structure of our team. And then we make those substitutions, and another player goes off with yet another injury. We're already finding it hard with 11. and they're like punishing the space vacated because we haven't got that extra man on the field with our 10 men because we've made all the substitutions. And it's just a matter of time before they were going to like find that opening, and they did the cut in on that far side. Wissa's had the shot and it's gone in, and you think all that good work you've done on Wednesday and the good work in the first half yesterday, all that good work in 2 really crap, naive phases of play in a defensive sense is basically thrown away 3 points and obviously 1 point because, like I says, we just couldn't hang on to keep the point.
So that leaves us with a very, very big game against Southampton coming up next Monday, I think it is. So we've got a few days to recover, hopefully get a few bodies back up and working. But the pressure's really on now. So thank you very much, Tom, for what you've experienced at Brentford. Thanks to Billy from Beesotted, and thank you to you for listening. We'll be back with our longer hour-long sort of discussion podcast coming up very soon, and then we'll be at Southampton next week. So thank you very much for listening.
Sports Social Podcast Network.